What up, y'all? Shiro Fujioka, aka Voltage Controller, back with episode number 2 of Modbap Demystified. In this episode, we're going to cover some West Coast synthesis patching techniques made popular by one of my favorite composers, Morton Subotnick, and inspired by one of my favorite instruments, the Buchla. We're going to be using the Digitone to conduct these experiments because this little black box of sonic possibilities is a very capable synthesizer, and with an imagination, you can approach it like a modular. There's bipolar envelopes, there's complex oscillators, there's variable bandwidth filters, there's reverb, there's delay, there's complex oscillators, there's wave shapers. So, we're going to approach it that way and get into this patch. Okay, so here's the first sound that I designed for this patch, and as you'll hear, it's very influenced by the work of Morton Subotnick. All right, let's go. All right, so let's go to the second sound that I designed. All right, so now we'll get into the low pass gate Buchlish sound in the sequence. Now let's kind of experiment with it a little bit and kind of demonstrate how you can dial in some kind of more modular-esque qualities to it. All right, moving on to the next low pass gatish sound. All right, so now that we have all our elements worked out, we're going to start recording some sequences and dialing in this patch and making it sound more modular. All right, so I'm going to start by loading in some triggers just kind of randomly here and there just to start setting up a sequence. So what we're going to do now is dial in some conditional triggers to get these sounds to fire off a little more sporadically using probability. So we'll just dial in some different percentages just to get the pace of this patch a little more generative sounding. So you'll start to hear as we start dialing this in, it kind of like fires off a little less, and it starts to make this patch sound a little more random and not so predictable. So we're going to get into our next sound, and this one we're going to record in manually to get a more human feel. I wanted to show you two different processes, one more programmed and this one is human. So once we have all our notes placed, we're going to do the same thing and add some conditional triggers and dial in some different percentages so these notes fire off a little more sporadically, and we start carving out our composition to sound more random and Buchla-like. Okay, so there we go. We have a nice random sound bed to build our rhythms on. So after this smoke break, we're going to get back into this rhythm. All right, let's go. All right, y'all. So now that we have our random Buchla-inspired, modular synth-inspired patch set up, we're going to move on and we're going to put this in a Modbap context. In similar fashion to how, like Pete Rock and Premier and a lot of our favorite hip-hop producers would dig in the crates and found these lost gems to sample and make beats out of. The Modbap squad and I, that's what we do with frequencies. We make these patches and we dig for frequencies, and then once we find these magical gems, we compose beats with them. So that's what we're going to do with this one. We have this spacey sounding modular inspired sound bed, and we're going to add some just boom bap head nodding drums to it. So let's get into that. We're using the Dig Attack.
I'm in a whole different space, call it Andromeda. Space, call it Andromeda. I'm in a whole different space, call it Andromeda.
Peace, y'all. That's been episode number 2 of Modbap Demystified. I'm your host, Shiro Fujioka, aka Vulture's Controller, aka that magical motherfucker, Ghetto Gandalf. Peace and love, y'all. Like and subscribe if you're feeling the vibe.